Anyway, so basically, the past 500 years or past 150 years or so. I mean, like I say, I launched with the LSFA rocket ship, which had or there was maybe it was the ALSFA rocket, whatever. It had the same wings as the 747. I thought it'd be a cool touch to make 747 wings, only they're longer. And you don't really need them in space, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to have them. Just, because it's just extra room and extra space. And besides, it was like a commemoration of the fact that that I had so many what's it called 747s. Anyway, though, but the ship was actually made out of titanium, I believe. It took like 180 years to build or something like that. A long time to build. It was a great undertaking. It was like a third or a quarter of my of my wealth. I was like, no pressure. It's just a quarter of my value at the time, or something like that, or a 16th of my value, or something like that. And like I said, it took the world's the fuel in the world. It basically, we had to build a special fuel pipeline to it, and it took like a year to fill or 2 years to fill, and was basically the equivalent of pretty much like 12 years of the total amount of fuel usage of the Earth. But I mean, we didn't have that many cars back then, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. But it was a lot of fuel, pretty much, a hell of a lot. And I forget exactly what kind of fuel it was. Anyway, I don't really know how they did the oxygen factor of it. I don't know. Maybe it might have used like water and alcohol or something like that. I think it was a water and alcohol because you can turn water into fuel, basically. Because water turns to steam, and steam is basically fuel if you heat it up. So once you get it hot, the water will vaporize into basically fuel. Like literally, you can take a bunch of water and just and then heat it up to steam because once it turns into steam, and then once it gets vaporized, the water turns into air, and then basically the air burns, and you get like 98% usage of what's called alcohol and water basically, or something like that. Anyway, it's pretty much what my steam engines do, pretty much, except and there's lots of alcohol and water engines before. But basically, the water has to get vaporized before that can happen. So, anyway, lots of technical things and all that other stuff, and like, anyway, though. But like I say, it's like my LSR 71 Blackbird aircraft are actually made out of uranium or something, depleted uranium, not titanium. But I thought they were titanium though, but I don't know. I mean, titanium, uranium, who cares? Like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's all the same. But anyway, depleted uranium is black or something like that, or I don't know. I don't really care. Like, so much stuff has happened. But basically, once I left, pretty much they killed all the people at the launch control thing of the place, and then they killed another launch control group or something like that, and they killed all the Germans, and they might have killed all the French people. They killed a lot of people that were working on the launch, because they knew who I was and they knew me, and and JFK, USAF people wanted to take over the world. Anyway, so when I launched and I left, basically the last thing I heard from my ground control was basically, there's something happening down here. Hold on. And then they never checked back in because they were dead. So, anyway, because they walked in and killed everyone in the room, and then lied about everything, and then covered it up, and then made clones, and then some 50 years later or 100 years later, JFK Nixon basically says, "Oh, we're launching. Oh, yeah. This is the launch. It's live. It's live." And then he was just pretending to be like that he was him or something like that, and pretending that all this stuff was going on somewhere in the world so he could make money or use the money, because he had killed everyone at the original launch site and hadn't told anyone about the launch, and had covered it up for like 2 or 3 generations. So then later on, he basically told the world that they were going to do this, and he was getting all the money and doing all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so he could pretend to have the launch, but it didn't actually launch, and that's why they faked it. And they basically did it as like a radio show. and that was USAF people and Nixon and JFK and all that. And he planned out and he was he used actual rockets to basically send nukes all over the world and kill everyone, and then maybe launch to space himself. I don't know. He was crazy. He was nutsoid. Anyway, so they did this, blah blah, and basically they were just running around killing people, saying that they were good people or whatever. And pretty much nobody could see inside the black mask because, like I said, they used like black suits or camouflage suits and basically black face shields or whatever, and killed a bunch of Indians and a bunch of other people that saw my LSF rocket or my LSF spacecraft ships. And pretty much one of them wanted to get to the moon because they thought that there was a space station on the moon, and there had been a long time ago, but there was too many problems, and somebody walked in there and basically blew up the place. And then tried to steal one of the ships, but they couldn't get the ship off the ground or something like that, or at least it wouldn't go anywhere. It would just go to like Mars at most or something. I don't really know. And basically, but the 1.5 people lived on Mars, and basically he was trying to kill them, but it's like they're like this tall, and like they were like this tall, and so there was a city of them there, and because they lived there, they lived in 12 gravities or whatever, so they lived there anyway, and like this big guy's like trying to reach his hand down the hole to like get to them, and they're like hiding down in the hole, and the whole planet is like it's like tubes and stuff like that. But anyway, so a bunch of people, Nixon and stuff, I think they eventually did get to Mars or something, but they couldn't really do much, and like the ships weren't the right size for them, because they're like these great big humans, and the 1.5s are like these little guys and live there all the time. So everything was made to be 1.5 people tall, and they consume a lot less resources than like a big old human. So anyway, I don't think it really worked out for them. I don't really know what happened. But I know they weren't really a serious threat for like the 1.5s, but Nixon thought he was going to be like Lord Commander or something like that, or force them into like I don't think he knew that there were 1.5 people on Mars, and so I think he was thinking because basically he killed everybody. He got to the SR-71 or something like that, or they got it running. He got to the moon. He destroyed that place or did a bunch of stuff there. Then I think he got to Mars maybe, and then he was expecting to pick up a spaceship at Mars, but there's not a human colony on Mars, or at least not like sufficiently big or something, because the humans can't do 12 gravities, at least not without an exoskeleton suit, and even then it's like insane. So basically once you get to Mars, you're stuck. You can't really get off. Even the 1.5 people can't really get off. It's really hard to get out of 12 gravities. So anyway, so basically they were stuck there or something like that, and pretty much they thought they would just exchange ships and steal one of the 1.5 people's tall ship, but it's like, you're too big. So it didn't go very well. And anyway, though, but Nixon thought it did, or something, or someone on Earth thought it did. And it's like, no, there's no big humanoid colony on Mars. That's all just 1.5s and small people and small things, because they're too big to work in 12 gravities. That's why they're 1.5 tall. So, and that's why they live there quite happily. So anyway, but this other guy on Earth thought that everything was going all good for him and everything else like that, but it really wasn't. So anyway, and then later on they might have nuked Mars or something like that to try and kill all the surface life, but it's like, well, life doesn't really live on the surface of Mars. It's too harsh. They actually live deep down inside Mars there. But I guess they didn't know that, or they didn't have good enough data, and anyway, then later on they might have sent a rating. I don't really know exactly the details of it, but basically it didn't go very well at all. So anyway, and somebody on Earth thought that everything was going good because somebody else was lying to them. He's like, well, space is pretty big. So anyway, so somebody was partying, thinking that there was all this war going on, and that they were like these great conquerors or emperors or something. I don't really know, or these other people did or something like that, and they really weren't. They were just being lied to by somebody else, because we didn't really want to tell them what was really going on. Anyway.